Okay, here we are back with Supreme Readings, section 2.5 of Pacifism. This is all part of episode 1, the article on pacifism. Because where better to start, right? For those of you getting this in a time capsule or something, it's 2025, September 25th. There's a war in Gaza, there's a war in Ukraine, there are many other hot wars. There are wars brewing. Maybe we had a few days war with Iran. It's a lot going on. And we're on the brink of civil war in America because Charlie Kirk was just shot. So fasten your seatbelts, folks. You gotta know this shit. Okay. 2.5. Transformational pacifism. Transformational pacifism is stood as aiming at a transformation of psychological, cultural, social, and moral sensibility away from acceptance of violence and war, and I would add away from acceptance of BDSM. Transformational pacifism articulates a broad framework of cultural criticism and includes an effort to reform educational and cultural practices that tend to support violence and war. The goal of transformational pacifism is a world in which war and violence appear to be archaic remnants of a less civilized past. Wouldn't that be nice? The author of the present entry has contributed to the idea of quote-unquote transformative pacifism as a critical theory of society that critiques militarism and the assumptions of warrior culture while offering a more peaceful, ethical alternative. Oh, they're telling Fiala is the author. I had forgotten, actually. So we saw a few citations by the author. You might think that's that's biased. How can they cite their own work? But be real, folks. If they're not citing their own work, they have no business writing this article. That's the idea. If they're not an expert on this, if they wouldn't, the only people who's writing this article are people who belong in the article. That's how it works. And notice they're not trashing their opponents because the editor wouldn't let them. Okay, just like when Kirk was moderating Dave Smith and Josh Hammer. You guys can't interrupt each other. One traditional version of transformational pacifism can be found in pacifist religious traditions. Here we go. For example, Jesus articulated a revaluation of values from the standpoint of a more pacific understanding of God's commandments instead of retaliation and the logic of an eye for an eye. That's Trump, by the way. Actually, his is 10 eyes for one eye. Jesus claimed that we must evolve a new idea of not returning evil for evil. And this is, by the way, related to more modern discussions of the iterated prisoner's dilemma, where tit for tat was defeated, and you may just have a different calculus where your primary utility function is 1 if you break the cycle and 0 if you don't. Start with that, and let's do a careful analysis of that soon. The prisoner's dilemma and pacifism and Jesus. How does the prisoner's dilemma relate to Jesus? Homework question. Okay. Transformational pacifism is often connected to a progressive interpretation of history that points toward a pacifist goal for human evolution. Gandhi thought that such progress was already underway and that history, quote, has been steadily progressing towards ahisma, nonviolence, unquote. Transformational pacifism has been described by Joseph J. Fahey, who also calls it, quote-unquote, reconstructionist pacifism, as follows, quote, transformational pacifists stress the spiritual unity of all people. They seek not only the abolition of war, but also the creation of an international juridical, political, and economic order that will promote the rights of all species, unquote. War resistance can be located under this general rubric, insofar as war resistance is linked to a general criticism of those structures of authority, economic and political choices, and institutional frameworks that support what is often called the war system. New paragraph. Transformational pacifism can also be linked to feminism and feminist critiques of the masculine values found in warrior cultures and the war system. Let's go. By the way, I just picked up from a little library Jocko Willink's book, Way of the Warrior Kid, in the companion book, and I'm guessing they tossed them because they weren't that great. But I was just thinking, like, if I was Jocko, it's very different than my mother disallowing military toys. This is Jocko Willink writing and publishing a book for his kid called The Way of the Warrior Kid. It's like, okay, your dad's a Navy SEAL. It doesn't mean that when you get on the battlefield, you're going to just die. But I don't know. In brackets, they mention Nobel Peace Prize winner Jane Addams, 2 Ds, is a prominent figure here. Addams connected her pragmatic hope for peace to democracy, yes, and the empowerment of women, yes, and the oppressed masses, yes, and who had in the past silently suffered from the horrors of war. And you got to wonder if Hamas was led by Palestinian women, if they would have raped Jewish women on October 7th. I don't fucking think so. So let's put women in charge of the next Palestinian political entity. During World War I, Addams and her Women's Peace Party worked to end the war, and eventually ended up creating the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. Oh, they sound like a nice bunch. Excuse me. More recently, authors such as Sarah Ruddick and Nell Noddings have connected feminist criticism with pacifism and the ethics of care. Ruddick notes that military thinking utilizes a variety of conceptual strategies that create a myth of, quote, the manly just warrior, which interlocks myths of masculinity, sacrifice, and heroic death, unquote. Period. Noddings has noted that quote-unquote care ethics does not support absolute pacifism, since caregivers may in rare circumstances kill in order to defend those they love. That's oxytocin for you. It's not just the love hormone, it's the that hormone. It's the killing to defend those you love hormone. So oxytocin can produce violence. They say hell hath no fury. They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, but they forgot to compare that to a mother cub protecting her bears. I mean, another mother bear protecting her cubs. Sorry, that was a weird that's a weird image. Nonetheless, Noddings argues that care ethics and feminism are concerned with a general critique of the militaristic and violent assumptions of male-dominant culture. Noddings contends that our culture, quote, puts a high value on the aggressive tendencies of males, unquote. Yes, and women are guilty of this especially. I found that women take more pleasure in male aggression than men do, because men, women who aren't victims, people with genuine trauma don't really take much pleasure in anyone's aggression. But there's a lot of women out there who, I mean it's more than half necessarily, but there's lots of women out there who have not been traumatized by violence, and when they detect violence in their partner, they think of it as how they're going to get ahead in society, and they egg him on. And yeah, if you watch enough cop videos, you'll see some real horrific stories that are just like that. So don't tell me I'm wrong until you've watched 100 dash cam videos or interrogation videos. Her solution is to recreate culture and education in such a way as to devalue aggression and provide support for love, nurturance, solidarity, and care. Okay, that concludes section 2. So let's just skim forward here so you know what's coming tomorrow. We'll do consequentialist pacifism. In the future, we'll probably go a lot faster here, but the pacifism article is a good one to do slow with your full pranayama, do some yoga, smoke a joint, don't take any speed, don't drink any alcohol, go easy on the coffee even, be peaceful. See you tomorrow.